Can somebody get me Shane for me, please, for a second? Where's Shane? Oh, yes. He's gone back to the city of craziness. Fair game. That would be very good to do one speaker after the other. I'm cool to start whatever speakers, just one after the other. So I don't know if there's any order. I know Chris is last, as always. Maybe Kadishi could start. You can. Who? Tanya?
Bonnie, can you go on to the Whistle Stop and update where that we're over here? And let's talk, put it under the poster.
I think we're gonna start the speeches very soon. I just checked with Chris Scott, and think we're gonna do this soon. So that's the information I got. Thanks for tuning in, by the way.
Now I go around to every person two of my heroes from and that's when you after the first
Everything is running. Oh, thank you. Sorry.
just say it's finally nice to see you guys in person. I said you're two of my heroes from the convoy that I've been watching since.
Where are you hanging out?
Well, it was the three of you in the truck, but yeah. So that's when I started following.
Very back to school when I started.
So it's great to see you guys.
No, it's not a movie. Thank you for coming.
I just want to let you know that we have some merchandise on the right side here. If you want to bring some souvenirs back home, that would be fantastic. So that will help. Although it will help also fund the costs for the greater good, I guess. So we'll be out of the clutches from Ottawa, by the way. Oh, just so you know, have you ever seen the city of Ottawa's logo? Has anyone seen the city of the logo of the city of Ottawa? It's got 3 6s. Yeah. So if you look at over yourself, go to ottawa.ca and look at the logo. The first O at the very far left, you're gonna see like it's almost like a. It really looks like 666. Just so you know. So. Down. Down. You want it down? Oh my goodness. She wants it up, so I put it up. Correct. If not now, it's gonna be never. Yep. We're going to start the speeches, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. How's the sound over there? Is it good? Too loud? Good? That's good? Awesome. So I think we're ready to the speeches. There's another microphone here. On the right side, you can grab. So just so you know, this event is live streamed right now. So if you want to take a look, you can search for on Freedom Calendar. What's that? You can search for Freedom Calendar on YouTube. That's where it's streaming right now. Streaming all over the place because that's what you need to do, right? Whatever guys are ready for the speeches, we're ready to go, I guess. I think I'm gonna do the MC.
Oh, that thing is so crazy. It's a gyro.
I think I'm gonna do the MC today.
That might be good for your back, right?
Oh yeah. Sure thing. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys are doing fantastic today. How are the hot dogs? Hot dogs. Is there one word I can't pronounce properly? Or hot dogs? Oh, I just did. So I think we're gonna start things going. The way it's gonna work is that we have some speakers here lined up, and we're gonna start. We're gonna have some speeches, and the whole thing is live stream. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's good. Isn't that cool to come here on June without worrying about climate change and the climate hoax? You're seeing all these things with the data centers right now. How to destroy the narrative surrounding the climate building just by building a whole bunch of data centers. So you can generate cat pictures with that. That would be good for Stumpy. So the first speaker will be Kathy. Where's Kathy? She's there. Kathy Flett. Because I want nuts. Because you're right in the middle of my... That just... Yeah. So for those who doesn't... Who is not familiar with Kathy Flett here? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3... I want to ask you this question. Who has ever been into an independence event ever in their life? Raise your hand. 1, 2. Oh my God, we have some newcomers. That's awesome. Thanks for coming here. That's very good courage too. Thanks for coming here. So Kathy Flett, she is one of the ladies behind the Alberta Women Independence Network. So what she does is that she goes around the province and she talks with small groups of people, talk about independence and how we're being screwed by Ottawa, right? And sometimes she comes to events like this and talk about independence. So without further ado, let's go rolling. Welcome, Kathy Flett.
Good evening, everybody. Thank goodness the weather held. I wasn't sure what was going to happen there. You never know this time of year, and if you haven't paid enough carbon tax, what that's going to do to our weather either. For those of you who've heard me speak, thank you for coming out anyway. For those of you who have not heard me speak, I will just give a quick rundown of what I generally do cover in either public settings like this or in home settings. As Max said, my friend Angela Tabak and I, a little bit over a year ago, we started the Alberta Women Independence Network because we realized that women were missing in the conversation. And so we went on a mission to fix that. And for over a year, we have been traveling this province, hanging out in women's living rooms, in their kitchens, in their backyards, meeting in coffee shops or in restaurants, and just talking about what is going on around here. What is the problem? How come we can't fix it? And we created a little pamphlet that we go around with, and we come armed with them and help people understand exactly how our government structure works. And one of the things that people don't know is how the federal side of our government structure works. We know we have some MPs that we vote in. We know there's some senators, but we're never too sure exactly what they do, probably because they're not sure either what they do. And we've got these two houses, and the senators are the folks that we don't get to vote in. They're appointed on our behalf by somebody in Ottawa, not even somebody here in Alberta. We have 6 of them. If you check them out, and you can just Google Alberta senators, there's 6 of them, see if their values align with yours. See how that works out, if that's who you want representing you in Ottawa. The other thing you'll notice as you look across the map that goes from west to east, and the number of senators, is that the east has over 2 times as many senators as we do. That seems pretty unfair to me, that they would have 2 times as many as we do. So then when you look at the MPs, these are the guys and gals that we do vote in. We have 37 of them here in Alberta. Even then, when you look at the map from west to east, you see that there are 2/3 as many MPs representing the east as there is in the west. So the long and short of it is we don't have a voice in Ottawa with numbers like that. Now, we're told that it's representation by population, but the math doesn't math out. How many know what time the last federal election was called? What time did they call the winner? 8:09. What time do our polls close? 8 o'clock. They hadn't even opened our ballot boxes yet to see how we voted and what we wanted. So if you did vote for the winner, careful of the company you're in these parts if you did, but if you did, they didn't need your vote to win. It still didn't count. It still didn't matter. Now going back to the Senate seats, when you look at the, usually what I have is a map of it for you, but I don't have one today. When you look at it, you'll notice that the maritime provinces, the number of senators and the number of MPs is very close. Like 4 and 4 and 10 and 11 and 10 and 10 each. The reason for that is because there's something called a senatorial clause, which states you can never have fewer MPs, the ones we elect in, than you do senators, the ones that are appointed. So that means in Prince Edward Island, you would only need 8 adults, all Canadian citizens, eligible to vote, and 4 of them could be MPs and 4 of them could be senators. This is how our Constitution is written. It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. So then, this is usually when people say, okay, well, let's fix it. Let's open it up and let's make it better. Let's make it fair. Canadians are nice. Surely we can do this. Everybody will understand. Well, to do that, we need 7 premiers representing 50% of the population. So we know that Alberta's premier would probably do it. We know that Saskatchewan's premier would probably do it. We need 5 more to agree to open up the Constitution to give us more votes in Ottawa. So what 5 provinces do you figure are going to want to side with us? None. Why would they? They get all of our money while we just hand it over. And that's literally what happens with the equalization formula. Something else people don't understand is they think, oh, if we had a conservative government again in Ottawa, that would be great. Well, under Harper, what changed? Nothing. In fact, it was Harper that did change something under our noses, and that is that equalization formula to include 50% of our resource revenues while excluding Quebec's. That's why Quebec can have a surplus and still receive. We can be in an absolute shit show around here with no money at all, and we still pay in. Harper did that. So that means there's nothing we can do to fix the problem within Canada. We just can't. It's impossible. The other thing that I try to encourage people to think about is if 7 premiers representing 50% of the population did agree to open up that Constitution and make some changes, do we have the votes over here in the West to stand up for ourselves? What if they make it worse? They could. And there'd be nothing we can do about it. So this independence movement, much to the chagrin of Ottawa, has not gone away. It's been 7 years and it's going still. No matter what they put in Kenny, right? Oh, if we get Kenny over there, he'll calm them guys down. No, that didn't work for very long at all. And then, oh, well, if we do this, that'll calm them down. Oh, if we get an MOU, that'll calm them down. Nothing is calming us down. And this is great. This is awesome. Now, we fast forward to today, and we have some new things to consider in this movement, and that's a referendum in October 19th. Make sure you have that date marked on your calendar for that referendum. Now, some people are a little bit upset about how this whole thing is going down, and I'll come to that in a minute. But the first thing that I want to tell you is that you're going to start seeing more and more and more third-party advertisers start to pop up on both sides, right? Both sides, more and more and more. Honestly, on our side, there's not a competition, ladies and gentlemen. Support whichever one you want, support them all. Okay? We just need as many voices as we can possibly get. Now, the one that Angela and I started is the Alberta Women for Independence TPA, third-party advertiser. So, we're going men and women. I don't care. Bring them in. Don't care. But we're targeting the women. We're 50% of the vote. We got to get this across the line. So we will continue. What? Oh, why do we start AWIN? Well, because, like, as I said earlier, we were involved in politics in a political party, in an independence political party, and a lot of the times the women were missing. We were the only 2 ones in the room at the CA meetings or at the board meetings or whatever, or there was maybe 1 or 2 others. And then the other thing that we noticed is that you guys, you're friggin' boisterous when you're talking, and y'all get loud. And when the guys get loud, the women get quiet. And so, see, just like that. And so... and he's a boy, so I made my point. And so we decided, you know what, let's take our message to the ladies and let's get the guys to just be quiet for a little bit until we can get the women's concerns met. because we have different questions when it comes to independence. You're welcome. Well, it did a lot. It did a lot. It got the women out. It got their questions answered. It got their concerns alleviated. And it got them stronger. It got the ladies out there talking. And it's working. And so we will keep going. Part of what our mission is in this, now the TPA that we started, is to continue to travel the province. You want us to come into your kitchen, into your living room, into your backyard, and help your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues know exactly what's going on in a comfortable setting, because maybe they're not comfortable coming out to one of these things. Not everybody is. This is not everybody's jam. But bring me to your house. I don't ask for anything other than maybe a little bit of a donation to cover for gas. If you want lawn signs, those are coming. If you want some other swag to be able to hand out, those are coming too. But that's why we started it, and it's working. So we're going to keep going right through until October 19th. Now, the other thing that we're going to do, I want you guys all to pull out your phones. And this is part of what Angela and I are going to focus on. And put in Alberta Referendum 2026, and it should pull up a website for you. No, this is an Alberta website. This is a Government of Alberta website that I'm bringing you to. On this website are all of the questions that are going to be on that referendum. Alberta Referendum 2026. .ca or
.ca.
.ca.
Of course. Right?
These are all the questions. Now, up until this website came out and we got to read all these questions, I was absolutely convinced that the Apostle Paul held the record for run-on sentences. The Government of Alberta beat him. This is on purpose. It's to confuse. This is what. So here's, for example, the constitutional questions. Do you support the Government of Alberta working with the governments of the other willing provinces to amend the Canadian Constitution to have provincial governments and not the federal government select the justices appointed to provincial King's Bench and appeal courts? That's one question. Yes or no? I can tell you right now, I really, 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 really encourage you, vote yes to all of these questions. All 9 of them. I want you to vote yes to them because it matters. I have hearing people say, I don't, it's not going to matter. Even the constitutional questions, there's nothing we can do about it, so I'm not going to go vote. That is the wrong attitude to have. This is our chance to be heard. Whether anything comes of it or not, this is our chance to be heard. And the thing of it is, if nothing does come from it, that's our next chance to get in there and say, see, we told you it doesn't work. We told you it won't work to stay in here. We use it against them. But I would encourage you to read all of these questions and make sure that you understand them because they're long and they're convoluted, they're complicated on purpose. Share this website with your friends, your families, your neighbors, your colleagues, your coworkers. Make sure that they know what these questions say because what happens is confused minds can't make a decision, right? So you'll read all this gobbledygook and just go, no, I don't know what that means, so I'm just voting no. And we don't want anybody to do that. We want people to understand what it is that's going on here. So as Angela and I continue to travel the province, this is what we're going to be doing, is covering all of these questions. The other thing that I want you to know is that our referendum to have a referendum is not found on this website. You won't find that question. You have to go to Elections Alberta, to their website, to find that referendum question. The other thing I want you to know about that question is it is an option. Pick this one or pick this one. It's not an up or down vote. Do you want the Government of Alberta to just decide that we're going to remain a part of Canada, or do you want us to start the legal proceedings to get out of Canada? That's the Coles notes of what it says. Do not check one and then X the other. You just spoiled your ballot. It doesn't count. Don't do that. Pick the one you want. I'm going to tell you to pick the one that says we want out because I can advocate for that now. It's legal for me to do that. It's not legal for everybody to do that, but it's legal for those of us that are the third-party advertisers. Pick that one. When you go to the ballot box, you're going to not be given a whole list of them. They won't all be on one page. Every single one of those referendum questions is going to have its own ballot. Now they're numbered 1 to 9 on that website I just showed you, but actually the independence one is first. That's going to be right on the top, and then all the others are going to follow. So do not believe that if you check the box on yes, I want to have a referendum on independence, that you don't have to answer the other 9. Answer the other 9. You're there anyway. Answer the other 9. Make sure you do, and mark it very carefully so that you don't spoil your ballot. I spoil my ballot when I vote federally because I know it doesn't count. This is not the time to do that because it is going to count. When you're out and about talking to people, do everything you can to make friends with everybody you know on this. This is for all the marbles. So we got to make sure. We got to make sure that people know exactly what it is they're voting for. And I haven't found anybody yet who says, oh yeah, we need to stay within Canada. And I say, okay, well, why? And they have no answer. Because there isn't one. Other than nostalgia. Just nostalgia. But when you look under the hood of what Canada is right now, all that nostalgia it's not even in the trunk anymore. It's like gone. There's nothing left. The other thing you want to pay attention to as well is who just got appointed as our new Governor General. That's frightening. Do a little bit of homework on her. Frightening. Now, as we go through between now and October, these guys are going to pull out all the stops. The fact that our own premier has publicly said she's going to campaign against us, and she's told her whole entire caucus to do the same, I think is wrong. It's not their place to do this. This is for us to do. This is about the people. This is not them. But this is what she's doing. Okay, well, we can't stop her. I don't like it, but we can't stop her. What you can do, though, is buy a UCP membership and show up at that AGM. You can do that. And you get your ticket. Get it now, because it's early bird. The other thing we're seeing is Pierre Poilievre. He's decided, too, that him and his MPs are going to campaign against us. I'm curious to know how exactly all these politicians are going to come back around when this referendum passes. What are they going to do? Like, seriously. What are they going to do when we say, yes, we do want a referendum to have a referendum? The other thing, people are really angry about that question, that we have to have a referendum to have a referendum. Just ask the damn question and let's get it over with, right? Okay, no, we cannot. And here's where I do agree with what the Premier did. Had she done that, the First Nations chiefs would have come out again and they would have thrown that one into the courts. And then we really would have been stuck for a very, very long time trying to get through this. So this is really the only wiggle room that there is available for us at this moment. And if you think that that's a little bit far-fetched to say that, you only have to look at what happened with the petitions. And if you know how a bill becomes a law, you immediately realize what happened. So for a bill to become a law, for example, for that citizen-led petition that we had, for a bill to become a law, it has to go through what's called 3 readings in the legislature in downtown Edmonton. So all those elected MLAs have 3 opportunities to go through it to make sure it says exactly what it needs to say, and the lawyers go through it, and all the people, all the smart people with the alphabet soups after their name, right? They all go through it and say, yep, this is what we want it to say. No problem. Okay, so from there, it goes to the lieutenant governor. And then she gives her stamp of approval, and that's when it receives royal assent. That's how a bill becomes a law. So that bill to do the citizen-led initiated referendum went through all of those steps and stages to become a law, and then a judge in downtown Edmonton decided she didn't like that law and voted against it. That's what happened. That's why those signatures can't be counted. So if you don't think they're going to try and use the law against us, you're fooling yourself. That's exactly what they're going to use. So we welcome the way that this question is going to be asked, and we will welcome every challenge they bring at us, because since 1905, all we have ever done is overcome challenges, and we're pretty darn good at it. So we will keep going. On that, please keep me busy. Keep all of the third-party advertisers busy. Whatever our actions are and our activities are, find out. We've all got websites. We've all got Facebook pages. We've all got X pages. Just Google us, figure it out, find out, support us, keep us going, because they got lots of money behind them. We know that. That's fine. We've got the people, and that's all that matters, and that's what's going to get us over the edge of this thing. And thank you very much, everybody, for coming.
How is it good, eh? Is it good? Oh, thank you very much. Pip, pip, pip. Honking will continue until freedom improves. Who remembers that? I do. So the next speaker is... Okay. The next speaker's last name is Trudeau. Don't hold it against him. It's perhaps the only Trudeau that's probably... There's the only guy named Trudeau who is probably in the realms of independence and for us or whatever. It's the only Trudeau you will actually try to listen to him instead of blackface, we're talking about. So thank you very much and thanks for coming and please welcome Ben Trudeau here.
Well, thank you for applauding despite my name. So just to clear up the question, if I'm related, yeah, I am, but 14 generation back, so not very close. I come from Quebec, as my accent say. This is my hometown. I live, in fact, I can see my house on the side of the lake there. So I live just on the side of this lake, and yeah, I've been in Alberta since 2008, working here since 2007. It's politics that brought me to this province. I was working for the first Harper government for Minister Jean-Pierre Blackburn. He was the Minister of Canada Economic Development for the region of Quebec, which is the grant distributing machine of the federal in Quebec. So I was in charge of distributing $4.3 billion per year of grants, $1.5 billion to businesses, so they would die slower with the Chinese competition, and the rest for broken bridges and others. And during a cabinet meeting, Mr. Harper asked to do some link between Quebec and Alberta because it was booming. So I booked myself, because I didn't know anybody in this province. I booked myself a breakfast with the premier, who was Ed Stelmach at the time. And the morning that I sat with him for the breakfast, I had to resign for political reason. There's the guy that was the main councillor of Harper for Quebec was a guy named Dimitri Soudas, who's the son of the Greek mafia boss in Montreal, a real killer. And they didn't really like him, and he didn't like me. And twice he sent me a list of companies to give money to. And twice I sent back that list on the fax of the Prime Minister's office, telling him, tell your boss to speak to my boss if you want that money to go there. So he found a way to kick me out. And then when I moved here, and I didn't get involved pretty much in politics. I got married. I moved as a bachelor. I got married with a girl from Edmonton, born and raised. Our 4 kids are born and raised at the Grey Nuns. I'm truly an Albertan, and I was not really thinking of politics until Kenny flip-flop on a vaccine. I took about 3 days to get my wife to get me off the ceiling, and I decided I need to do something. And I joined first phase of TBA in the Edmonton region, and I kept on being active in the freedom movement through a lobby company that I started named Alberta Free with another gentleman, George Bears, who was the founder of Taking Back Our Freedom. And so I've been lobbied for 2 years, and now I'm selling other stuff, but my surprise of doing active politics in the province was big because the culture is very different. And in Quebec, there's one thing that I never heard because I've done over 10 years of active politics in Quebec. I come from a political family. My dad is a speechwriter and a PR guy, and he dragged me to all these meetings and backroom politics meetings since I'm 4. I still have that image on the plaza of the Olympic Stadium on the 1976 Olympics when I was 4 years old, when my dad was holding me by the hand and he was talking to René Lévesque, who became premier a few months after. So I grew up in there. I got involved in a political party at 14. the Liberal Provincial Party during the Meech Lake negotiation that fell through in 1990. Then in the 92 referendum for Charlottetown, we voted, the young branch of the Liberal Party voted against Charlottetown, and the Premier, Robert Bourassa, used his veto against us, so we all resigned, and we started a political party named ADQ. And ADQ won 7% of the vote, public vote in 94 when Parizeau came back to power. And what is very different in cultural politics in Quebec is that when a premier comes in power, he knows that he's elected by a base. And usually do what his base wants him to do first, and he do the rest for others after, which is very different here, because here I heard over and over that they need to govern for everybody. I will tell you, when you govern for everybody, you govern for nobody. And throughout that separation movement, I was part in '95. I did the referendum campaign in Quebec. In fact, the question was written for the first time on my computer because I was typing fast. I was 22 years old, and they would drag me in meetings to take the notes. And so I'm the one that typed that question that Quebec was asked on my computer on a Friday afternoon, and that became the official question. So I was very involved, very closely. So this is my fourth active campaign on constitution matters that I go through. And I realized how little people knew about Quebec and how little people knew about even our constitution. So in Quebec, when we lost in '95, we lost by 54,000 votes. So we had a participation rate of 95%. There are some polls in Montreal where at 6 p.m., 100% of the voter went to vote. Everybody went to vote. So, and despite that, we lost only by 54,000 votes because the Liberals cheated, because that's what they do. They always cheat. So, after that, in Quebec, we decided to say, okay, let's be sovereign within Canada. And let's push the concept. Let's see what our constitution enables us to do. And let's do it. So, I wrote a book about the constitutional history of Canada, starting in 1534. When Jacques Cartier mapped the St. Lawrence River and the French settlement came in and they start colonizing all the hinterland. They founded Chicago and Des Moines and all the cities along the Mississippi down to New Orleans, that was founded by a group of Montrealers too. And in fact, the first mayor of New Orleans was Trudeau, from that same roots that I come from. So I want now to talk to you about what Alberta can do without separating. So I am not a separatist. I was not in '94. I never been. But I was heavily involved in the referendum, and I wish that it would pass. And I'm still heavily involved in this referendum. And I don't know what I wish, because it's a big fruit salad. But if it was a real question asked, rightfully, I would totally be behind the question. Despite that, I'm behind the process, because that process enables us to talk. I think it's super important. And I believe that Alberta needs to assert its constitutional rights. So Quebec has been collecting its taxes since 1957, and has been in '65, when the Canadian Pension Plan was created. Quebec say we don't want to participate, so they create their own. Well, 60 years later, the Canada Pension Plan, the CPP, has an investment fund of $700 billion for 22 million people. And the Quebec Pension Plan has an investment fund of $500 billion for 6 million people. So the Quebec Pension Plan has been 3 times more performant than the Canada Pension Plan. The Quebec Pension Plan owns probably more real estate and retail in Alberta than the government of Alberta itself. So the Cross Island Mills, it's owned by the Pension Plan of Quebec. The outlet at the airport is owned by the Pension Plan in Quebec. Londonderry Mall, Southgate, a couple of towers in Calgary. So because the Quebec Pension Plan has for rule that they need to invest at least 40% of their pension plan in Canada. And it's very performant. If you believe about yourself, you will invest in yourself. So what Quebec does as well, and what we can do, is mainly to start collecting our money. I mean, we collect every week. Right now, the price of oil, we collect around 700 million a week in royalties in this province. The deposit is done every Friday afternoon in Toronto at the CIBC. So I wonder why don't we keep the money here? During that weekend, the CIBC make 2 to 3 million in interest. It could be handled by our provincially regulated financial institution. We could split that 700 million a week between the 13th Credit Union and ATB, for instance. That would start to show a bit of independence. And when Premier Smith said that she wants a sovereign Alberta within a United Canada, when she passed that rule, that Bill 1 about the United Alberta within a sovereign Alberta within a United Canada, Bill 1, Bill 2, she added some condition to get out of the CPP. So basically, she sent a very clear message to Ottawa. She said, I will bark, but don't worry, keep the money. And this is what we need to end. This is where we need to start. Because when you leave home, the first thing that you do is take care of your budget. So if we want to leave home, the first thing we need to do is take care of our budget. And then after that, we should take care as well of asserting our right in terms of the provincial police, immigration. Quebec controls immigration for a long time. My sister, we adopted her in 1981. She's Vietnamese. In 87, my dad brought the rest of her family in Quebec. And when you immigrate to Quebec, you go to a 5 days class where we teach you the history of Quebec, the values of Quebec. And then after that 5 days, you have to sign a social contract. And if you don't want to sign that social contract, you go away, go to Toronto. And this is exactly what the parents of my sister did. They left for Toronto because they didn't want to sign that social contract. If you don't sign that social contract, no health care, no driver's license, no social services. I mean, we need to define who we are as Albertan. I consider myself an Albertan despite being here quite late. I mean, my family is here, my wife, my 4 kids. So what I've done as well in my book, I define what I believe is an Albertan. And I define 8 heartstrings that I believe tells what an Albertan is. And here, I'm going to read them to you if I can find my paper here. So the 8 heartstrings identified for an Albertan is heartstring number 1, enduring moral compass. Judeo-Christian values define our laws and identity. Heartstring number 2, earn equality. Merits matters, not identity markers. Heartstring number 3, hands-off freedom. Small government, stay in your lane. Heartstring number 4, pioneer grit. Family-centered, self-reliant, property respecting. Heartstring number 5, real leaders, real results. Builders, not spenders. Conviction, not corruption. Heartstring number 6, wise land guardianship. Sustainable use by those who live here. Heartstring number 7, move or die accountability. Self-reliance, personal responsibility. Heartstring number 8, proud Canadian Albertan. Honor the past, defend the future. And I believe this is what defines an Albertan. And I believe that when people move here, at the registry, when you go get your driver's license, like I did when I came from Quebec, they should sit you in front of the computer and have that little storytelling, that little class, that you have to sign a social contract that you will respect the Albertan values and the Albertan culture. And if you don't want to sign that, no driver's license, no healthcare card, like go somewhere else. So I'm a big advocate of sovereignty. You know that Quebec has 38 embassies across the world. If you're a Quebecer in Paris, you go to the Maison du Québec. If you're in New York, you go to the Maison du Québec. Washington, Quebec deals with all of their economical stuff. Quebec has 2 seats at the UN, not under Canada, under Quebec directly. And all that under the Canadian Constitution. So my message here is that just like this tour and what we're doing is to bring hope and to build hope. Because whatever happened on October 19, everything that's in there we can do. And we can assert our sovereignty. And we can, within the constitution that we had, there's a lot of room. A lot of American states would dream to have the power that we have. It's just for us to take it. So I invite you absolutely to talk to your neighbors. I invite you to make sure that everybody goes vote. We need that 95% vote like in Quebec in 95. We need a very, very strong result. So thank you for hearing me.
Yeah. No, I'll take it over.
Okay, take it.
Yeah. I'm telling you, this is probably the first Trudeau you'll ever meet, right? By the way, the Trudeau last name is very common down east, so it's not like uncommon for there. You know, it's very common for those people to wear. I have 2 customers who have the last name is word Trudeau. Kind of funny. The next. Oh, by the way, before getting to next speaker, I just wanted to let you know that this kind of tours that we're doing all across Alberta. Like tomorrow, I'm going to Troshu, just FYI. It's good. So if you want to eat some pierogies. Have you ever seen the latest from Fabio on Facebook? Look that up. I'm not going to share online, but look that up. What he's done is kind of borderline insane. But essentially, all those stores we're doing right now cost money. Somebody will pass the bucket over there. That will help us cover the expenses, such as gas, reservations, like venues and all those things. And also because what happens also is that we have a meeting and the next day it's canceled because they say we're too political, what have you, all the problems we have. Also, if you go to letstalkalberta.com, the actual website, or the Whistle Stop Cafe or freedomcalendar.net, you're going to see the events. What happens is that if you go on Facebook and you see the poster from this event, the event that you're going to see is probably 5 days ago. Okay? So what you see on YouTube, on Facebook specifically, is not in real time. So the best, basically the point of truth is basically the Let's Talk Alberta website, letstalkalberta.com, and the Whistle Stop Facebook group and freedomcalendar.net. I actually grabbed the information from LTA, so I just put it on Freedom Calendar. But that's the way you're doing this as well. And also, in regards to social media, yes, of course, this is live stream right now. People say me hello to my internet friends down there. But on the other hand, what we're starting to see is that there's a huge censorship out there. Just a matter of fact, Freedom Calendar is not allowed to post on Facebook groups anymore. And another note, on Freedom Calendar's Facebook page, I lost about 80% of my traffic on Facebook alone ever since Bill C9 left the House of Commons. So we're dealing with an impressive machine who is probably against that. Taki was talking about those things today. So it's very important to go to letstalkalberta.com, freedomcalendar.net, and somebody will pass the bucket so you can put some money in there. And also want to thank Wade for having us here. Where's Wade? Wade, where are you? Come here. Come here. So I want to thank you. This gentleman here, his name is Wade. You probably seen him, right? He's wearing the SPP Saskatchewan Prosperity. He was asking, "Where are you? Where's your T-shirt?" Want to say a few words?
Sure. What I can say is you will never be canceled here. Not in my world. So you're welcome here anytime. Polyev is in Calgary today and spewing the things he needs to spew. And I just can't get my mind around the uniparty that's happening in Ottawa. You know, everybody's against, all the people that were enemies. Danielle Smith, Jason Kenney, against us. Mark Carney, Pierre Polyev, against us. Nahid Nenshi and Thomas Lukasik, against us. Now, all of these people who were once supposedly mortal enemies are now all in their own little group, all against us. We need to stand up. We need to get this happen. The boots on the ground, us. That's what's going to make this happen. So thanks. Absolutely the right side of history.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks very much. On another note, what I mentioned is that for those people who are watching online specifically, share the crap out of this video everywhere. Take your phone, send it by text message, and share it to 5 people. You might not agree on independence or not, Doesn't matter. At least you can share what's actually going on, right? So that's the point of the whole message. So our next speaker is, she's right there on my visual point of view.
But I'm going to steal the mic. So on the table here, there's a little basket with brochures. Take a handful. Go ahead. Put them in your glove compartment. That's what they're for. So do that, so I don't have to take them home. And there's even more I can fold.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Fill this tonight. That'd be fine.
awesome. And also for all those volunteers who are dedicating their time, their effort, and they're sweating a lot here about everything what's happening. So the next speaker is going to be Vicky Bayford. Anyone? Yeah, Vicky Bayford. I'm going to use the other microphone. Just kidding, the other microphone. Yeah. So she's been in the trenches for a long time, and when she speaks, the last time I saw her was in Round Hill, I think, by Rocky Mountain House, 10 miles from there, and she was talking about unity and how we can bring things together in a context where things a little more. There's a lot of friction between what they call groups. So before further ado, Vicky Bayford. I'm just gonna mute the. Go ahead.
Thank you guys for all coming out today, and thank goodness for this weather. Oh, it's so great. Love sitting out in the sun. So, like Max was saying, the last time I spoke down by Rocky there a couple weeks ago, I was really trying to get across what it means to be unified, because sometimes we think that we all have to be in one big kumbaya circle and just do everything together, but that's not reality, and that's not reality in anything that we do in our lives. So one of the things that I like to tell people to do is to start stripping away the labels, because we all have people in our family, in our circles, that are just as confused sometimes as we are, that don't know what's, and probably less informed than we are, which causes even more confusion about what's going on in this world. So we look at labels and then we judge. We make a judgment, and that's just human nature. We're never going to get away from that. I can, see someone holding an Alberta flag today and go, oh, those are my people, because I've put a label on that person. Am I going to assume that person agrees with absolutely everything that I believe in? Absolutely not. So we have to remember that even with our friends that may not politically be on the same side as us, or that just, might be, just hold a little bit of difference from us, we have to step away from putting labels on each other and get back to looking at each other as human beings. Because one of the things that I think social media has really done to us is kind of siloed us into little groups. Because guess what? We're on Facebook groups. We're on Instagram groups. We follow people. But we're following pages. We're not actually following people. So, the social media is great. It helps us get some messages out. We have technology that we've never had available to us before, and it's especially important in these days now when we're facing so much censorship. So it does help us. But we have to remember those personal connections, those face-to-face connections are far more important than, talking to someone. So we had, me and another girlfriend, it's actually her idea, a lady that I sing karaoke with on Saturday nights. She was like, I really I don't want to really necessarily get involved, but I need somewhere to express myself and be around people. Because she said the people in my circle, they're my friends and I love them, but I can't have an open conversation. So what she did, and I just helped her do it because she didn't know how to do it. We just started a little Facebook group. But we made that Facebook group for personal interactions, for get-togethers in the community, in her community. And, then we ended up starting inviting people around other parts of Alberta. So now we're inviting people to social gatherings. Not necessarily, we're inviting them to events like this as well. but we're finding like-minded people, and this group specifically is for like-minded people, so that people can feel free to express themselves, express their views without being shamed or canceled or whatever. But those are the groups that have another circle of friends that will cancel them, but once they can get them comfortable, can invite someone like Kathy to come into their living room in a comfortable situation and be able to have an open, honest conversation with those friends that may be confused or just don't have enough information to make a good decision. So, and you know, like we talk about this all the time, about, you know, the people that show up to events like this and the people that don't. And obviously we have our hardworking kids raising their kids and going to work and have swimming lessons and hockey games and baseball games and dance lessons that they can't make it out. So we have to find ways to get creative and make it to them, because we know, or at least I feel like I know. I did a lot of door knocking at the end of that signature campaign. And when I was hitting communities with the 2 parents and 2.5 kids and a dog, those were the communities where they were right on board, but they had a lot of questions still. There was still a lot of uncertainty. So if you have kids or grandkids, you know, just have a barbecue. Invite someone that you know with a little bit of extra knowledge if you don't feel confident enough to give them the answers that they think they need, or because you're their mom, they're not going to believe you anyway. You know, it took me a while, even with my own kids, to, you know, watch them kind of struggle with what I was doing. Because they were like, Mom, why can't you just be quiet? Mom, why do you always have to talk about this? And I said, this isn't about me, this is about you. And it took them a while. It took them about 2 or 3 years to kind of get there. But again, we can get them there. And again, it's 1 teaspoon at a time. You know, it's just little baby bites. Yeah, the tablespoons, yeah. They might choke. But anyway, so like I said, get these community groups going. And again, you don't need to have a TPA to have people over in your yard and doing something like this. Host a barbecue. Have a tea party. Do we still do tea parties anymore? Do we do like bingo? Or I don't know. There's lots of social things that we can do that we still like to do that involve us eating and sharing and being able to just get a small message across. And I said, you can have 2 people there or you can have 10 people there. It doesn't make a difference, because every single person that you have in your circle of influence is in 1 more vote or 2 more votes. And just think, we got over 300,000 signatures during that petition. If 300,000 people influence 2 or 3 more people, we're over 1 million people. And I know it sounds daunting, and some of us, you know, get frustrated. But just remember to start looking at people not through the filter of what the label that you may have imposed on them, but look at them like human beings with real problems and become a good listener. Listening to what their concerns are is going to make all the difference. Ask them questions. Don't tell them anything. I can tell you at the beginning of, I'll call it my journey into this, was actually long before I actually got involved in politics. My cousin, she married an American, and so she'd been living out in California for years and years. And her husband was they lived in the only Republican part of Northern California. They lived in a little suburb just outside of Sacramento. And when Trump was running for presidency, like when he was running for the first time, even when he was just going through, I don't even know what they call it. I don't know American politics, but when he was running just to be the candidate for president, I could not understand it. I really honestly couldn't. I didn't know anything about anything, but I thought I did. And I remember traveling. I used to travel a lot by myself, and I would talk to the people that were at my table, at my buffet table or whatever. And I started talking to other Americans as well. And I'd be like, how can you vote for Trump? I just don't get it. I don't get it. I'm like, the guy's like obnoxious. Like, what could Americans possibly see in someone like him? But again, not knowing what I didn't know, I went to my cousin's house and I said that in front of him as well. Because I could, because I trust him and he was my family. And he said to me, I'm not going to tell you why people here would support him. I'm going to send you some information. So when you get home, he said, Joy really doesn't want me talking politics with you when you're here to have a visit. I said, okay, that's fair. So I went home, got bored one day, probably took me a couple months. I started like going through some of this information he had sent me. And it was more so about Hillary Clinton and who she was. So I'm not going to go down that because I think a lot of you have probably all figured that out by now. But it took me a while, and it kind of snapped me into a reality that I didn't even know existed. I didn't actually know how deep and dark politics was. I thought we showed up at the ballot box every 4 years. I thought I was informed. I thought I understood what was actually going on, and realized very quickly that this world is, a lot darker, unfortunately, especially at the top, than I ever thought it could be. So it is. It's a spiritual battle. And so I stewed on that for a couple years and never really did anything with it other than just kind of would, dig down a few rabbit holes every now and then when I was bored and had nothing better to do, and started informing myself a bit more. But then COVID hit, and like many of us, that's when I finally said enough's enough and I have to do something. So like I said, those personal relationships, they didn't make just, an influence on my own children, but I was influenced that way too. And it wasn't by someone saying, you're an idiot and you don't know what you're doing and you're a traitor, you're this, you're that. I got the knowledge that I got by, one, looking myself, but after being given enough information that I could check it out to credible sources and make up my own mind, because no one is going to be forced into this. And there's not one person that we're going to convince by this name calling and by this labeling. So it's time to take off the labels and start looking at each other like human beings. And as best as you can, drop the judgment. I mean, I know what human nature is. And again, when we're starting to talk about groups and the unifying, we're going to be able to work together all just fine. We're going to have 20 TPAs running around this province on both ends of the spectrum. And we just have to be bigger and better than the side that's against us. Because, just realistically look at who the people are that are against us. It is the system that's against us. It's not people that's against us. It's a system that doesn't want to be taken down. So when people start realizing it's a system and it's not a person, Pierre Poilievre's a person, but he's in that system. And he's been in that system a long time. And just like almost everybody else, that's going to work against us. And I think it's been a blessing in disguise what Danielle Smith did, to tell you the truth, because realistically, I don't think we were quite there to have an actual referendum in October. It would have been exciting, but I just don't think we were there. And this gives us we're actually going to, realistically, unless somehow someone changes their mind, we aren't going to have a referendum now until 2018. Because the way the law works, we cannot have a referendum during an election year. And guess what? Next year's an election year. A referendum? Well, the Premier can call one, yes. Okay. Well, I'm saying realistic. I don't believe there's going to be a referendum till 2018. You think so? Well, I hope you're right. I like to be proven wrong. I want to be... Oh, I wish it was... I'm going back in time. Sorry. I'm just living my memories now. 2028. Thanks. All right. Well, anyway, thank you guys so much. And thank you guys for coming out. And please, keep your humanity, keep your values, and just keep talking to people.
It's working, eh? Thank you very much, Vicky. And that's true. I mean, we're in a situation right now where we need to stay focused on one objective, to be honest, right now. And there's a lot of divergence of opinion about this as well. Shameless plug, I'm going to have on my show on Freedom Canada, I'm going to have Igor Realstev, who is a real estate agent back in Cowtown and Calgary, and Manny Deep, he's in Edmonton as well. And one of the things I'm going to talk about is the immigrant community, how to get on board on independence. Because what's happening right now, the information I was getting is that the Forever Canadian crowd is trying to bring it to their side under very false pretexts. So that's going to be at 7 tomorrow, if you want to look it up. So the next speaker, that's Stumpy's dad. He knows the joke. Is it? I didn't know. Dad. Father. Cat daddy. Okay, I went too far here. And that's funny because we see all those people around and checking the speeches and everything. That we're definitely going to have to do all those things more and more up and outside. One, weather is permitting, which is great. So the next speaker is Chris Scott. I think you all came from here, right? Thank you very much. Welcome, Chris Scott.
Thank you, Max. I was really worried when you were talking about Stumpy. That's my cat. She's got...
Cat dad.
She only has 3 feet, so we call her Stumpy.
Oh.
Yeah, she's awesome. Okay, well, thank you all for coming out and enjoying this beautiful Alberta day with us. This is absolutely fantastic. The whole idea of Let's Talk Alberta is just exactly that. There are some things going on in politics and society and all sorts of things that we need to start talking about. I think that for too long, we've allowed people who have differing opinions to just engage in cancel culture instead of talking about ideas and debating in public forum and being open to hearing what other people have to say. People spend all this time trying to cancel, right? I mean, we've done probably somewhere between 35 and 40 events so far since February, since we started. And we've been canceled by about 6 venues. 6 venues, municipal venues, publicly funded, have canceled Let's Talk Alberta because we want to get people in a room talking about things that are important to Albertans. And while it is true that the majority of people that attend our events are like-minded, that is true, we really want people who are opposed to come talk to us. Not just to hear us talk, but we want to hear from them. We've had a number of events where people who were completely diametrically opposed to most of what I believe in came to hear what I had to say and then asked their questions, shared their concerns, and some even stayed afterwards to have a discussion with us. That's how these things are supposed to work. And now Alberta is faced with some really important questions that are going to be asked in October, right? We're going to have an opportunity in October to vote on specific things that are important to all of us. Some of these things are going to affect the outcome and the future of Alberta for decades to come. Probably most of us won't even be alive by then. And I'm really concerned because we're going into this with this attitude that, oh, we're right, they're wrong, we're not going to talk about it, we're just going to cancel each other. Well, how are we going to get the best outcome for our future if we refuse to actually have dialogue and debate and talk about these things? When it comes to my personal opinion, I will tell you that I believe in Alberta independence. I believe that Alberta independence is not only necessary, but it is inevitable. I believe that because, as we've seen, with Western alienation, if you want to go a little bit broader, Alberta's voice within Confederation isn't effective, and more often than not, we're left feeling like our voices aren't heard, we're underrepresented, we're funding things, and we don't get the seat at the table that we believe we should have. That's what I believe. I believe that over the last 20 years, that has accelerated immensely because of some of the policies we've seen come from Ottawa. I don't recall really being invited to any of those conversations when some of these initiatives or legislation was imposed on Alberta that affected my sector, which was energy at the time, that affected my future. Nobody ever asked to talk to me, and these decisions were made by other people and imposed on us. I don't agree with that. So I say that Alberta independence is necessary because in order for people to peacefully coexist, to be good neighbors, sometimes you just shouldn't be all under the same rules because you don't share the same values. And what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. What I believe is wrong is when one group of people believes that they can impose what they want on another group of people and then never suffer the consequences for it. That's a problem for me. I say it's inevitable just looking across the world and paying attention to history, even a small fraction. Nations generally get smaller. They don't generally get bigger. And why is that? Because as nations get bigger, the society changes. What they outgrow the bonds or the shackles or the ties that bind them, and they find that in order to peacefully coexist, they need to self-govern, self-determine, and get along, but not govern each other. And I believe that's where Alberta is at. Now there are many people who don't agree with me. It's very often that they'll come up to me and have a real conversation about why they disagree, but there are certainly people who disagree with me. Even our own premier disagrees with me. Our premier has said to me and to you that she believes in a sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. Now here's an interesting thing. That was me about a year and a half ago. I believed, and actually I still would prefer if that could be accomplished. Unfortunately, I don't believe it can, for many reasons, which I'm happy to answer questions about this later. But the problem I have now, and the reason I want to talk about these things more, is that I'm watching the Premier disagrees with us. She's taking the position that, Alberta wants to pursue sovereignty within United Canada. She's going against the base of the UCP, which is about 70% pro-independence, and she's taking a position against what the majority of her own base wants. Now, and she's using Wade's donations. I think the UCP and has roughly. Now someone can fact check this. I might be wrong, but I heard something like $12 million in the bank that they're going to use to campaign for that against the wishes of the base. That is a problem for me. It's a problem. Now, when we do events with Let's Talk Alberta, we send out invites to our MLA, to our MP, sometimes to the Premier, sometimes to Forever Canadian people, including Thomas Lukasik, to come to our events and explain to us why we should agree with them and support what they want. That's the other side of this that people don't really talk about, right? I want people to come to these events and try and change my mind. Like, I understand we have a very important decision coming up. We have very important referendum questions coming up. And I want to make the best decisions. I want the best future possible for Alberta and for Albertans, for my kids and their kids. Probably I'm not going to see too much of the results of this or the consequence of this because I'm 47 years old. I'll probably retire, in the next 40 or 50 years. So I may not reap the benefits, but they certainly will. I know it's important. So I'm almost pleading with those who disagree with me to come here and tell me why I should support the status quo. Explain to me how the status quo is going to improve things for my children. If somebody can do that, I will probably vote the way they will referendum day. Why wouldn't I? If the facts plainly state that this direction is the best direction for us to go, why wouldn't we do that? The thing is, I have yet to have anybody have a conversation with me like that. I have yet to have one person explain to me this in a way that can change my mind. And on the other side of that coin, generally, when people approach me with their opposition points or their concerns why Alberta should not pursue sovereignty, why we should continue with the status quo, almost, I would say 99.9% of the time, I think about what they're saying, and you have to listen, by the way, so I listen to what they're saying. I internalize that, and I respond in such a way that what the opposition is saying to me is actually a reason, that something that supports my opinion that Alberta independence is necessary and inevitable. For example, and this is, you've all heard this one, I'll use this example. Oh, you could never do it, Alberta, because you're landlocked. So I scratch my head and I say, well, we're landlocked now, and we can't get our resources to tidewater because of policies that are imposed on us that prevent us from doing so, even though we are part of a confederation that's supposed to work together and break down barriers to prosperity. If that's the case, what's the alternative? We're still landlocked, and now we're not negotiating with people who impose legislation on us that affects our future, that puts consequences on us that we can't affect. Now we're negotiating as grown-ups, right? So when people say we're landlocked, so we can't do this, I say, okay, I understand what you're saying, because yes, we are landlocked, but that's actually a reason why we need to do this. If you believe that us being landlocked is an issue and you want to get our resources to market, then we need to change the way we're negotiating. We need to negotiate from a position of strength rather than a position of weakness. And if we do that, if we take that opportunity, your concern puts you squarely on my team. So let's work together. And there's many other examples like that. There's many other examples. The only opposition point that I've gotten is, Alberta, it's going to disrupt trade. And I'll concede that one. Yes, of course it would. It's going to, because things are going to be new. It's going to be a little chaotic. We're going to have to figure those things out. But again, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to start thinking about these things ourselves, to start doing it ourselves. And to be brutally honest, there is no guarantee. There is no guarantee that me or any other responsible person will ever give you that says an independent Alberta will be better. I cannot guarantee that. Why? Because it depends on you and me and you in internet land. The Alberta sovereignty is only an opportunity for Albertans to make the decisions themselves. That's what it is. It's not a magic fix. It's not an automatic win. The other part of this, and this is the important part, staying or continuing with the status quo is not a guarantee of prosperity at all. As a matter of fact, if you've been paying attention to what's been going on in the last 30 years, you can probably identify that we're not on an upward trajectory to a more prosperous Alberta. We're steadily declining into it's worsening. That's a guarantee. I can all but guarantee you, if we don't do anything, if we continue on the course we're on, we maintain the status quo, I can just about guarantee you that things will get worse. Even worse than that, I cannot guarantee you that we can change it. No Western Premier has been able to yet fix the inequities within Confederation that contribute to Western alienation. They haven't been able to do it. No Western Prime Minister has ever attempted to do it, even though Stephen Harper was one of the men who penned or helped pen the firewall letter, how Alberta can insulate themselves against a hostile federal government, taking control of employment insurance, pensions, immigration, tax collection, and policing. Those are 5 things that Alberta could do within the Constitution, within the status quo, without leaving, that would improve Alberta's ability to exercise their sovereignty within Confederation. And I agree with doing all of those things. Every single one of them. And I want to have these conversations with people. I want them to tell me why we shouldn't do that. If you can convince me why Alberta should not do those things to the benefit of Albertans, maybe I'll join your team. And that's what this is about. Let's Talk Alberta does not exist to try and convince you to vote a certain way or to try and convince you of one outcome or another. We have speakers that share their opinions and they're very passionate about it, but at the end of the day, this is about getting people in rooms talking about things that are important to us. If we do that, and if we kick this idea to the curb that the people that oppose us need to be canceled, we're going to have some success. We will, even if things don't go exactly the way everyone wants. Why? Because we talked about it and we did it together, and that's how we have the best chance of success. So I would encourage everybody, when you leave here today, bring these ideas, bring this conversation to the people around you. There's, how many people's here? 60 people, something like that, 70 people? Of the people that are here, or pardon me, there's not a lot of people here, but we have to reach a lot of people. So how do we do that? How do I do that? I don't. You do. This is your job now, to start talking with people, to shed this idea that talking about politics and religion is impolite. They are two very important things. Politics affects your life from before you're born to after you're dead. It is an important topic, and it's something that nobody should be ashamed of talking about. Religion affects your eternity. I would say that's also important, so be bold in both areas. But the key is we need to start talking about these things. And we need to think critically about the things that people are saying. And this goes for both sides. Oftentimes I see people that are on my team that believe in Alberta sovereignty say things that are incorrect, and I politely correct them. Sometimes I say things that are incorrect, and people will politely correct me, or actually most of the time it's brutal attacks on the internet that end with them wanting me to hang or something like that. But whatever, at least they corrected me. So we need to start doing this. And I appreciate everyone that's supporting this initiative and helping us do this, helping us to talk with Albertans. It's a necessary thing, and I wish it wasn't, because I would much rather be over there in a boat fishing with my son and my daughters than here speaking to you all. But I am very grateful for the blessing and the opportunity of living in a place where I can go and talk to people. We can freely, peacefully assemble for political purpose, and we can talk about things that change the world. So thank you very much for being part of that, and let's talk Alberta. Oh, I don't have any cinnamon buns. I've got hot dogs. We'll reconvene in 5-10 minutes, and we'll do a little bit of a Q&A, folks. How's that sound? Good? Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is a 3-minute warning. So this is a 3-minute warning. So you can get yourself comfortable in your chairs, camping chairs. Also, is it good? I need to film this. I don't think Chris is okay. Oh, he is okay. So we're gonna start the Q&A session very soon. I just wanna would you please get yourself comfortable in your chairs? We're gonna start the Q&A. So the way it's gonna work is that I have the Q&A microphone here, the yellow microphone here that I have. This is a wireless one. So if you have questions, okay. So the way it's gonna work for the Q&A, guys, is that I have the Q&A microphone on my hand, okay, right here. So if you have questions, raise your hand, and I'll come to you with the microphone, and I will hold the mic, okay. So when you have a question, just raise your hand. I'll come to you with the microphone. I think we're pretty much ready to go, guys. Okay. We probably need some shares to put in there, but I don't think we have any. So I'm gonna have to. Well, I think what we'll do, because we have no shares. Hold on a sec. Hey, wait. Do we have some shares for the guys here?
Have some what?
Shares.
Chairs?
Yeah, for the Q&A. Otherwise, we'll have to be standing.
There's chairs over there. Chairs there.
Okay. Just trying to solve the share problem here. This is the most Sylvan Lake thing ever. Camping chairs outside by the lake, you know. The whole thing is running on batteries, running on cell phone for the internet connection. The most rudimentary thing ever. That's what I mean by the most Sylvan Lake thing ever. So when you have there must be another share missing for. So we got Chris, Ben. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm just gonna adjust the camera, guys. Oh yeah. Honking will continue until freedom improves, eh? Hold that for a second. So, so there's a mic here.
This is a mic?
No, this.
No.
This is for the Q&A.
Oh.
Kathy, we're
You look disappointed. So we have 4.
We are. I don't know the answers. I resort to Chris for the answers.
Careful. I might be wrong.
You guys have
Okay.
that's what I'd have to say.
Thank you.
Because you've been following it for the last 5 years.
We can't show on the picture because I don't have a camera for facing backwards. But there's a, how do you call this thing, Wade? A gyro what?
Gyro gym. It's a gyroscope.
A gyro gym. Oh, a gyro gym. I need to take a picture of that. That's very impressive. Looks like something from the Bible or something.
I have a question.
You got a question? We're gonna just wait there until the other guys set up, and then we're going to the Q&A then.
All right, see you later. Thanks
Yep.
for coming.
By the way, if you got questions, guys, okay? If you got questions, just raise your hand. I'm gonna get the microphone back to you, okay? You guys?
We're ready.
Okay. Wait.
She's right over there talking.
All right. First question. I'll hold the mic.
Okay. Okay, so I just was in the middle of reading Sheila Gunn Reid's book, and what she stated in there was how they are going to use the courts to drag this out to basically destroy our fight, because that's what's going to happen, right? They're going to drag it out and drag it out. People are going to lose interest, and the movement's going to die. What can we do to get this over the hump before that happens?
Well, she's right, and it's already working. The momentum is dying off. Like you see it in the polls, you see it in the events. That's just reality. What you can do, there's two things. The first thing we can do is just work harder. Do more events, share more stuff, bring more people, talk to more people, that kind of thing. But the other thing to remember is it might not work, right? This has happened before. Momentum might wane off, and then things are, kind of just puttering along again, and then be ready for the next thing. I was the CEO of the Alberta Prosperity Project for a while, a couple years back, and it was just at the tail end of kind of an upswing, and we experienced that downswing where the momentum was kind of waning and people weren't so interested, and they're going to the beach and going to the bar and living life and not participating the way we were before. And the conversation was, hey, this is the way things go. This is reality, and what we need to do now is just make sure we have a structure and a network so that when things happen again, we're ready to go, right? So that's two-part answer. The first part is work harder. The second part, which people don't often want to hear, is it might not work, and then you have to prepare for the next time.
How do we keep them fired up? How do we keep people fired up?
Wade says, how do we keep people fired up? Not lose the momentum in the first place. Like, I was kind of disappointed after the petition campaign was done. There was 6 weeks where there was nothing. No events, no news, no advertisements, no nothing. It was extremely frustrating. Let's Talk Alberta was doing everything we could during that time with the limited budget to try and keep that going, but we don't have the deep pockets, right? So they might not stay fired up. They might not stay motivated. The number one salesperson and motivational speaker for Alberta independence is generally whoever's in the PMO. Whoever the prime minister is at the time is the number one motivator. So we do what we can. We roll with the punches, and we prepare, because I think they say something like prior preparation prevents poor performance, and we cannot afford to have poor performance as we've seen in the past few months.
What about a unilateral declaration of independence?
What about a unilateral declaration of independence?
I believe the biggest problem for that in this province is the political culture. Like I believe if you want to maintain momentum, if you want to really move the needle, we'll need to shift the political culture. We'll need to shift the way Alberta politician deals with their stuff, and have courage to take bold move and bold decisions. And sadly, at this point, with who's in place, I don't think it can happen. I believe that discussion that we have around that referendum is maybe an opportunity to break that that two-party system and take the risk of having raising a crowd of politicians that are bold and that will do what they say they will do. We know in the Westminster system, it's a private club system. So you build up your private club, and when you have the most member of your private club as elected, then you take power. But that means that you do stuff for your club first, and after that for the rest. The Liberal does it very well. They do stuff for Liberals. NDP does stuff for NDP. The Conservative does stuff for NDP and the Liberals, and not for Conservative. So that's a culture that needs to change, and we need to as well stop thinking about the minorities because the majority works or rule technically. So to have option like in 1990, there was a group of First Nation that manifested against a new golf club in a place named Oka, Quebec. And what did the Quebec government did? They kicked them out. They put them to their place. And that's respecting their sovereignty as much as ours. The first thing that René Lévesque did in 1978, he made a speech saying to all First Nation Quebec, you are a nation. So stay in your nation and let us deal with ours. So it's just a question of a change of culture, because the rules are there to support that type of bold intervention. We have a premier who's the queen of jumping I mean, what she's done in 2015 is exactly as if Pierre Poilievre will join the Liberals today. That's what she's done, and she killed any option or aspiration for a third party because everybody's afraid. She creates such a fear in the Alberta electorate that now we're afraid to start a third party that would have a bold voice and all that. And I believe in my book this is how we can sustain the momentum. No, in 94, the party I started with a bunch of youth. I was 22. The leader of our party was 24. Was elected. We were the balance of power. And it's a book that I already read that he wrote in 95. I believe it can be written here as well.
What Ben said got me thinking, as usual. Thanks a lot. The only way the path that we're taking right now in Alberta is the path supposedly of least resistance, and that is create the parade, make the politicians get in front of it, use the current system to pursue the will of the people. But what we're seeing is that it seems like there's an entrenched faction within the current system here in Alberta that refuses to acknowledge that the will of the people exists for this particular thing, and even worse, campaigns against it. So short of that, within, there's the without, the unilateral, as you mentioned. The only way that could ever work in Alberta is if Albertans grew some balls and decided to support candidates and politicians that actually represented what their values are. Ben said it perfectly. When the events of 2015, and I don't want to even speak them, happened, that created a bunch of cowards, political cowards in this province that were scared to support what they believed in and support people who stand for those things because we might have this government later. They're so scared of the NDP. And I actually witnessed this firsthand in the Olds Three Hills Didsbury by-election. The Republican Party of Alberta ran a good platform, said all the right things, good talking points, and I'm not saying they're perfect, but their platform was what Alberta sovereigntists should support. The UCP candidate, it was a complete fear campaign. Oh, you have to vote for UCP. You have to vote for me. Otherwise, we're going to have an NDP government. And I'm like, well, that's not even true. It's a by-election. It's one. No, that's not true at all. But it was a campaign of fear, much like the campaign of fear we're seeing right now. I've seen an estimate that Alberta independence could cost upwards of $400 billion and $75 billion a year without showing anything. It's fear. So until Albertans are ready to grow a pair and actually support what they believe in, the unilateral thing will not work. The from within could, if we could break through those barriers, but the unilateral won't. Now, I want to point something out. 301,620, at least, Albertans signed a petition to compel the government to put a referendum question on the table. 301,000 people. It's estimated that between 500,000 and 1 million people support that idea and didn't sign for reasons, whatever. I couldn't find I couldn't find a canvasser. I couldn't find a canvassing location. I was scared to sign because the government might persecute me if I sign and I'm on a list. If those 500,000 to 1 million people put their efforts together and supported candidates that actually would do what you say, Wade, we could have this done, and we could have it done by 2027. But it all depends on Albertans, and it all depends on the conversations we have, how much let's talking we do, encouraging people to actually stop being so scared of the orange disease and support what they believe in. Until that happens, we can't do it.
What do the women have to say?
Oh,
Which question am I answering?
Whatever you want.
All right. Well, I can't really add much to what they actually said, though. I mean, because really we're in a place where it is going to be a mind shift. And then we're going to need some type of a psychological or energy shift in this whole province to get to a place where we can make a unilateral declaration or have, like Chris said, the balls to vote in something new. Because, you know, personally, like I ran in the last election under the Independence Party banner and in Red Deer South or Red Deer North, and all the doors that I hit, people loved what the party stood for. They liked the principles, they loved the values, and I was told so many times at the door, face to face, looking at people, that they would love to vote for me, but they'll split the vote. So until we even ourselves can change, because I can tell you there's people even in this crowd during 2023 that I love, and you know, it didn't change my feelings about them, but told me the same thing. They said we can't split the vote. We can't have an NDP government. An NDP government would speed the shit up. Look what the Liberal government has done for this movement. If you don't think an NDP government in Alberta wouldn't speed this up, you know, we just have to stop voting for fear. And maybe even better, maybe we'd get an independence government that would hold that referendum, support that referendum, promote that referendum on our behalf. And we would have the deep pockets that we're fighting against right now.
The fact of the matter is we've got to start thinking outside the box. I too ran in 2023 in the provincial election as an independent candidate. And every time at the door, I heard the same thing, Vicky. I want to vote for you, but I don't want to split the vote. I'm like, I'm an independent candidate. What chance do I have of winning? Like, let's think this through. There's a whole bunch of you that could vote for me and send a message because I took so many votes away from the UCP, but they were scared. That's exactly what Chris was saying. So we're going to have to think outside the box a little bit, which means if we can't get the UCP turned around into our direction, and we might not be able to, like it's a behemoth of a political machine. If we can't, then we're going to have to be open to some other options, and we're going to have the courage to take those other options and stop with this garbage of we're going to split the vote. Whether that's another party, I don't know. Whether that's run a slate of 60 independent candidates who are all independence-minded, and we're not under a party banner. We just know we all want out, and we're going to work together to make that happen, and we vote them all in, and we've got the majority. Who cares how it gets done? We just have to use the system to our advantage to get it done, which means some outside-the-box thinking and some bravery on everybody's part when they hit that ballot box. And show up at the ballot box, for heaven's sakes.
Let's time for another question here.
Hello, yeah, Cheryl here. I have a couple little areas to bring up. I'm all about, I've been standing in freedom for the last 6 years, took off from Ontario 5 years ago after Mum passed. And when the Canadian government said we were not allowed to travel, I went, I don't think so. Took a trailer, you know, pulling it with my Dodge Caravan, brought it all the way to BC, and I had to come back to central Alberta. I love the land, the people, and animals. Yes, speaking of the animals, this is what I'm bringing up. I'm all about the children, Mother Earth, animals, and all. Now, I don't know if people know, but this Todd Loewen is the Minister of Forestry in Alberta, and he owns a guide and outfitters business here in Alberta. He wants to eradicate the wild horses. Did you know they're not just trying to bring them to China, they're trying to bring them actually to Quebec as well. We just found that out. Anyways, there are 6 zones in Alberta where they're trying to go after these wild horses. Sundre, Ghost River, Clearwater, Elbow, Nordig, and Brazeau. I don't know if you say it that way en français. I say that a little bit too, of Brazeau. So anyways, can we stand up for our animals? Mother Earth. Some of us believe in these chemtrails. They're going after our water, all of this stuff that's going on. One moment. And then after that, can you please tell me what's the difference between the Conservatives, and a lot of people don't know this, but Harper unprotected over 98% of our freaking waterways. No word of a lie. Look it up. And after that, anyways, and then Danielle Smith, she is showing her true colors. So what is the difference between UCP, Chris and all, versus the Conservatives?
The federal Conservatives?
Yeah, what's the diff?
I don't even know where to start with any of that.
Well, I will start with saying my personal view on that is there's not a whole lot of difference. They're part of the system, right? And you have to know that these people have been in the system a really long time. Not some of these are good people that are sitting in that legislature. They go in with good intentions, but the monster overtakes them. But as far as like fighting for things like that, I mean, that's where we do have to start taking personal responsibility. And this is the whole mind shift that we have to do. We do have citizens initiatives, things like that you can do to change policy in the government. And if you can get enough people to support you and you start that, then you can make change. And that's the one thing I actually have to say that I was glad that this Alberta government did do, is make sure that we actually had a citizens initiative that mostly would work unless it was a question they didn't like.
Right.
So to your first question about the horses, I know Todd. Todd is a good guy. His business is very connected with nature. He is an animal lover. He's a great steward of his resources. I've seen a lot of the information floating around challenging his decisions. And when I say his decisions, what I mean to say is his ministry's decisions on what to do with the wild horses. His ministry does not want to eradicate the wild horses. That's not it at all. What they're doing is population control, similar to what they do with wolves in northern Alberta and other unpleasant things that we don't want to deal with. I'm unfamiliar with a lot of the rationale as to why, but I did see he posted publicly 5 or 6 studies from like, what are they called, equine advocacy groups that agreed with his ministry's path to dealing with some of the wild horses. So I can say that some groups that are about protecting those herds are in agreement, some are not. You'd have to reach out to his office for more information on it, but because I don't know everything. But what I'm saying is, I can tell you from my personal experience that Todd is a good man and he wants to do what's right for the wildlife in the province with his ministry, and I wouldn't question that. But I could ask him about some of the other things. I'm going to move to your next question about you asked.
I got this information from a lady who's taking care of 50 horses.
Yeah. Wait, no.
On her property,
Okay.
50 horses.
Yeah, and that's fine. Wherever the information come from, that's okay. I'm just telling you what I know. Because I can't speak to what the lady with the horses said or anything. I can just give you my experience. Now, I do believe that the conservative movement in Canada is mostly cut from the same cloth. If you go back the history of some of the current political leaders, they all existed in groups in the late 90s. These are all friends. that planned things way back in the day. Stephen Harper, Danielle Smith, Jason Kenney, among many others. They were, and Pierre Poilievre even, and Ben maybe will speak to this. But I will say, the statement that Prime Minister Harper removed protections on waterways is incorrect. What he did was he removed some red tape that was part of the Navigable Waters Act of Canada that said that if you're going to build a bridge over a creek, you have to apply to the navigation board or something like that to make sure that canoes don't hit the bridge. That's what he did. He didn't remove environmental protections. It was ancient red tape designed to protect waterways for travelers, for people that use steamboats and like paddle wheel boats and canoes and things like that to navigate the waterways. It was nothing to do with environmental protections. And I can point you in the direction of that so you can see that's true. But to the overarching concern that they're all the same, I would agree that they all have similar agendas to support the conservative idea or movement in Canada to maintain conservative control, and that crosses provincial and federal lines all the time. And I think Ben has something to say.
Well, the two things I have to say first is, again, with the political culture that we have in this province. When I was hired at the Minister Blackburn's office in 2006, I was commissioned to shift the ministry around within 6 months, which I did, but it was 6 months of pure war. So first thing we done, we remove all option to spend from the deputy minister. We had a meeting with her, said, Mrs. Doré, you're not signing any more checks starting today. It's the minister that signs everything. And then our answer to that was, Mr. Trudeau, have 40 people in my communication department. From now on, I put 2 full-time to sync you and your government. Okay, so, and this is how you need to deal with the bureaucrats and the deputy minister. And I can say that nobody does that in this province. They're all good friends with the deputy minister. It's the worst thing that can happen, to be friends with your deputy minister. So that's point one. Point two, when you look, like most of you have been involved only since the past 6 years in politics. Politics it's a small group, small. So speaking of a small group, like Daniel Smith, Pierre Poilievre, Ezra Levent, and Jenny was Pierre Poilievre's girlfriend at the time, who's now the political master of the Conservative Party. Were meeting every week in Daniel Smith's house when Danielle was in her 20s for the grassroots for Day. So they were supporting Day for against Harper, basically. So again, because there's very few participants in politics historically in Canada, of course, you know everybody. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody work with everybody, and somehow no relationship always will always go over often even logic.
We're gonna take next question. I'll hold the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. So my question is actually surrounding what we've talked about a little bit, trying to get the momentum going again after the Citizens Initiative. And I really feel what Albertans need is some concrete progress. And I loved Ben's idea about attacking the fact that our royalties are being paid to the CIBC. Now, if we were able to bring that back to the ATB, and so that the interest is earned by an Alberta banking financial institution, and perhaps, pose it like it would help build a sovereign fund for Alberta, I think Albertans could start to see that the group is actually, the whole movement is actually making that progress, an actual concrete change. And that might be a change that we can accomplish in a short amount of time.
So to be able to do that, it's very complicated. You need the Minister of Energy, who's Brian Jean, coming to his office one morning and sign an order to his deputy minister, and it's done. That's what is needed.
It's too hard.
But I don't know why. I mean, it is what it is. But truly, it doesn't need a referendum. It doesn't need a protest. It needs the Minister of Energy to tell his deputy minister, shut down the bank account at CIBC, take the money, split it within the 13 institutions provincially regulated, and that's it. It's done. So, and they're not even able to do that. So that's all I have to say.
I got another question.
This is something that requires a measure of courage. A measure of courage from our elected representatives. If they're not, if somebody campaigns on Alberta sovereignty, and they don't take control or start to take control of all of these things that nobody even knows about, but contribute to at least our financial sovereignty, are they serious? And these are places where we need to start pushing back and say, hey, you talk about Alberta sovereignty within United Canada, you're campaigning against full Alberta sovereignty. Where are the places where you're taking control of sovereign things? Like, where are you doing it? And if they don't do it, we have to hold them accountable. If we don't do that, they will not do it. Because if every politician's, am I allowed to say wet dream? Oh, every politician's dream is that they don't have to do anything. Nothing. They don't want to do anything, because if they don't do anything, they're not going to get in trouble. There's no bad news about it. They continue to get their paycheck. They float through and everything's fine. We have to make them do something, otherwise they won't do it.
You want to add? No. No. The other thing I want to bring us back to is that's what I was trying to communicate when I was up here talking, is use everything that the provincial government is doing against us, use it against them. Right? So if they're saying, well, we want to do this, just as Chris was saying, within a sovereign Alberta, within a united Canada, okay, well, do it. Hurry up, because we got a referendum on a referendum coming. So get busy, because we're busier than you, and we know how to work when you don't. Right? Push them. Push them. Either way, it's a win-win. So it doesn't matter. Just push it. Use it against them. And then if they don't do that, you go, oh, well, there you go. See? This is why we're doing what we're doing. So you better get busy to have another referendum after we have the referendum to have a referendum.
I got another question here. We call this referendumception, like in the movie, with a dream within a dream. Anyways, in regards, this is a question for Caddy specifically about the TPA, the third-party advertiser. What is, in a nutshell, can you just give the condensed version of how to register a TPA and what are the hurdles to do it? What that implies from a manager's perspective, accounting perspective, all those things.
All the things. To register a TPA is a piece of paper. You go on to Elections Alberta's website. You go over to third-party advertiser under political participants. Click around. Actually, there's a lot of really fun information on Elections Alberta website. If you got like an hour one day, just click around. You can find out how much money each of the political parties have raised per quarter, and then annually. You can find out how many political parties there actually are. It's kind of disgusting. You can find out who's been bad on there and who's been fined. You can find out all sorts of things. But anyways, you go to political participants, you click on third-party advertiser, and then it'll have some links to some paperwork that you can fill out. And that's literally it. You say what you want to call yourself, what it is that you're advertising, what you're advocating for, and then sign on the bottom line. You're going to need a CFO and then one other person who is a representative of the TPA. And then you put that in, and they go, okay, thank you very much. Looks good. Check it back. Send it back with their signature on it. And then you set up a bank account. Now, you're probably going to need that document before you can set up the bank account, because the bank is not going to know what you're doing. So once you have that third-party advertiser piece of paper, you go to the bank, you set up the bank account, and then every Thursday by midnight, you have to go into what's called the online financial system with Elections Alberta and let them know who gave you money that week. So you've got to have some time set aside to do this. Now, anybody that gave less than $50, you don't need to say anything. You need to say you got it. You don't need to say who it was from. Anything that's over $50, you have to record name, address, physical address. So just like with that signature campaign, it's got to be your home address, not a P.O. box, and an email so that you can get a receipt, but it is not a tax-deductible receipt. This is out of the kindness of your heart receipt. And then if you do give more than $250, your name will be listed on Elections Alberta's website as doing so. So if you're really feeling rebellious and you want to be on the list, that's a great way to do it. from there, the third-party advertisers, we are the ones who are allowed to say, this is how we think you should vote. Anybody who is not a third-party advertiser and is publicly stating, this is how we think you should vote, whether either way, yes or no, can get in trouble and fined up to $5,000. And because Angela and I won't shut up, we thought it was probably just safer to register as a third-party advertiser. So that's what we did. And now, like I said, there's a lot. And there'll be more. And we encourage that because we're only allowed to raise $650?
I think so.
$640,000 each. And that's not a lot of money when you're talking about these kinds of campaigns. So again, it's just like this whole independence movement, like this last iteration of this independence movement. As those of you who've heard me speak before, I've said, you know, a lot of people were screeching at us a year ago, oh, you guys all gonna get under one banner, it's dog eat dog, blah, 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 conservatives can never get along. And we didn't do that. We did not get under one banner. We were all giving the same message. We were all pulling the rope in the same direction. We all talked to one another, but we did not get under one banner because we created a hell of a game of whack-a-mole. They couldn't take us down because we weren't under one banner. This is the same. This is the same. Oh, you guys need a leader. No, not yet. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. We don't need a leader yet. We need to get these referendums answered correctly and passed and like 90% voter turnout. That's what we need. So the more TPAs we have going around advocating for this, helping people understand, going to that government website that I got you guys all to go on earlier so you can see that gobbledygook they want you to vote on and know which way you want to go before you get to the ballot box. The more of us that are doing this, the better. It is not a competition. Not one is better than the other. Just figure out what we're all doing. Support us all. We're happy with that. So don't think there's anything that way.
A subset question. Can corporations contribute financially to a TPA?
As long as they are registered in Alberta.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, corporations and people, $5,000 each.
So my company can legally send some money to a TPA, basically.
Your money can legally send however much you would like to the Alberta Women's for Independence, TPA.
Okay. So you see a whole bunch of number of companies that might be being done. Anyone here has any questions here? Raise your hand if anything.
Company 2.
Yeah?
Yeah, so here's what that could look like, right? If you have a company, your company could donate $5,000, and then you could donate $5,000, and then your spouse could donate $5,000. And your children could each donate $5,000 as long as they're over the age of 18. Yep.
Alberta, oh yeah, that's another one here.
So I did some research today, this morning, and Forever Canada, or whatever thing that Lukasik's tied up with, they are not a third-party advertiser. And it bothered me from the beginning when I heard that we couldn't, I don't know if it's true or not, that we couldn't use any of the items that we had purchased before the campaign became the campaign. And Thomas Lukasik ended up with all these bloody signs like in 24 hours. So I used Corey Morgan's math, and each sign costs anywhere from $4.50 to $5. And so so you can do the math on that, right? And yet all of those signs that Lukasik has put out, if you do the math, they should be registered as a third-party advertiser, but they're not. And the only thing I can think of is because they're getting funded by the NDP.
Don't know. But you can put in a complaint to Elections Alberta.
And what's the email address to file a complaint against AA? I don't have it on top of my head.
Or you can just go right on their website and contact us and do it right there. Elections Alberta.
lickmyrim.ca.
So I just have a kind of an overarching comment. I've been to a few of these, and it just makes me question a lot of things. One of the things that makes me question is, what is the role of government actually supposed to be? And how much are they overarching in the name of safety, in the name of our best interests? I think back upon my life and I think, even when the seatbelts came in, yes, there's evidence that those save lives, but I'm also a responsible adult and I can probably look at the evidence and choose to make my own decisions without it being a monetary avenue for the government to collect more funds. I think about what you said about water and horses, and I think about how we have, as people, allowed the government to sell off a lot of our resources, and we have had historically things that were for the people, even cooperatives, our banks, our gas co-ops, our ag co-ops. We had the United Farmers Association and multiple things. And I just think, what if I listened to Marty up north say that it would cost about $25 to $30 billion to create a carbon capture in order to do the rules that we need to have a pipeline. So then I just got curious and I had this conversation with ChatGPT and said, hey, what would it cost to have a cooperative pipeline for Albertans, by Albertans, for all Albertans? Came up with this really fascinating $25 to $30 billion. I think it's probably better spent on us. It was a really interesting thought process. And I think as you look at what can it be, it becomes really exciting and really hopeful.
You good?
Well, I guess the short answer is the less government, the better. Really, we have too much now, but unfortunately, that's because too many people asked for that. They wanted the handout. They wanted the regulation. And those of us that didn't stand up. We were too busy just going along to get along. Like, oh, I'm with you on the seatbelt thing. That just drives me bananas. Just does. Like, I'm an adult. I agree with you 100% on that. But we didn't stand up and say, you know what, this is dumb. We're all over the age of 18. We can make our own decisions. And then there's just so many other things that just crept in. It's like the frog in the pot. And we didn't do anything to push back. So that's how it happened. That's how we got to where we are. And so by having a clean slate in the Republic of Alberta, we're going to be able to flush a lot of that out. Now, that's going to take some getting used to, because we're kind of used to being overregulated on everything. But the only way to do it is to have the Republic of Alberta, to get rid of all that excess government.
I don't think we have any more questions, but I'm going to have the last question here.
Thank you. Yeah, you'll hold it. Okay, thank you. I have two comments before I just want to say something to you guys. One is about this splitting the vote. I was very involved with Grant Abraham's last year in April, and I saw a vision of one square, and it was red with Liberals. And underneath, blue came up, and it was Conservatives with blue. And then I saw a gold leaf square, and I went, And I saw a pen come down, and I went, these guys are going like this between the red and the blue. And I went, that's the definition of insanity. They're voting for the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And that just really spoke to me, and that made it so easy to talk to people about, vote for the one you want, and don't worry about splitting the vote. The second thing I wanted to mention was I wrote to Danielle about the campaigning and how I think they should just be neutral, absolutely neutral. And I said something about her mentioning she wants to hear the voices of Albertans, and then by doing this, she's drowning us out. And so I don't know where it's going to go, of course, But I really believe that we need to get our opinions to our politicians. And that was one way I thought might help. So another thing I want to say is thank you, you guys, so very much for coming out. Being on Grant's campaign, I got a taste of what it was like to travel, be gone a lot of evenings, and didn't have nearly the distance as you guys do. So I thank you for the time that you have spent for us, all of us, and I want to thank your families as well for having you be able to do this. So thank you.
And just by tomorrow, I think they're going to be in Provost. So Provost tomorrow. Wednesday, Trashu with pierogies. Thursday will be in Vulcan for all the Star Trek fans out there. No pierogies in Trashu? Okay.
Bring your own.
Bring your own Trashus. My English decided to not work. Yeah.
So I love the TPAs. I considered it, decided I would support one instead. The Let's Talk Alberta also needs donations. We drive everywhere. I had to pay a $50 parking to park over by the lake today. Okay? Any gas that gets, the speakers get gas money, and that's all. The flyers that I handed out today, I printed them, I don't care. But we have to print out hundreds and thousands of different flyers and stuff. So I am saying, if you have friends with some deep pockets, we'd like to pick them. The thing with being an educational society is we do not have to reveal our donors, and we have no limitations on giving. So there is a difference there. So support both ends if you can, or if you have friends that you know that maybe would want to do one or the other, then please do that. It's just really important because we know that the other side is full of union money. We don't have that unless we've got some good backers. So thank you everybody for coming and for the venue change. It went somewhat smooth. For my friends sitting up there in the chairs, I've gotten to know them really quite well. We hang out on occasion. What are we doing, Max?
I say hello.
Oh, you're just saying hello.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you everybody for coming. Don't
Patty?
Forget your chair. Yes, Christopher.
Yes. One moment.
Yes, Christopher.
Ben's going to close.
Okay. Okay.
Well, two things for closing very shortly. We can divide the vote on the NDP side as well. It doesn't need to be on the UCP side. Just food for thought. And now I will close in prayer. So thank you, Lord, for again the freedom we have to speak openly about our opinions and what we see for the future of our province. And I'm asking you, Lord, to be in that process, to give us wisdom and direction, and ultimately may your will be done. And thank you for everybody, protect everybody on the road back home, and protect those on the road in this tour, and Max and all the crew who make that happen daily. In the name of Jesus I pray, amen.
Amen. So I think it's time to mingle, I guess, for those who are still here. So thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow. I will be streaming. I want to have an interview with Tanya Bell, with Mandeep Bell, as well as Igor Realstiv tomorrow at 7 p.m. And Wednesday, that's going to be in Trashu. Thursday, and that will be in Vulcan as well too. And Caroline will be on Saturday, on Sunday, but that's been under planning. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.